Today we're going to talk about reference angles. Reference angles is an angle formed by the terminal side of an angle and the x-axis. Okay, so in that blank, let's put reference angle. My handwriting has gotten better now that I've gotten used to this stylus a little bit, at least in my opinion. I hope you think so too. Examples, let's look at the picture first. Let's look at our reference angles. Notice that we have theta to start right here. The other side of the angle, they call it a beta, a B. That's your reference angle because it's an acute angle, a small angle, that will hit the x-axis and the line you drew. Okay, so that's that one. With a picture in quadrant 1, your reference angle is going to be the same as your theta. And in quadrant 3, your reference angle is going to hit the x-axis and the line. Notice the little beta there. And finally, in quadrant 4, your reference angle is the little piece right there. It's the acute angle that hits the line and the axes. What we are going to do first is practice finding reference angles. So, 35 degrees. Let's start by graphing it. Hopefully you know 35 degrees is in quadrant 1. Well, when my angle is in quadrant 1, my reference angle is the same angle, so it's just 35 degrees. Reference angles are always positive too, by the way. Negative 45 degrees, so I'm going in a clockwise direction instead. Negative 45 is in quadrant 4. Right there is negative 45. My reference angle has to hit the line in the x-axis. It will be that same angle, but again, remember I said reference angles are always positive. So it's positive 45 degrees. The next one, 148 degrees. That is between 90 and 180. That should be hitting my origin. Careful with that. This piece is 148. My reference angle is going to hit the line and the x-axis, so it's going to be right there. That blue angle is worth 180 minus 148. 180 minus 148 is equal to 32 degrees. So 32 degrees is my reference angle there. Now for the 250. 250 is going to be in quadrant 3. This piece that I'm drawing right there is 250. My other side, actually just kidding. My reference angle is going to hit the line and the x-axis. It's got to be acute, so it's going to be that red angle. The way I get that red angle is going to be 250 minus 180 degrees. And then you end up getting 50, 60, 70 degrees as your reference angle there. I'm going to have you guys try the other 3, see how you do with them. Hopefully you'll be okay. Moving on, express each given function value in terms of a function value of a positive acute angle. This is using reference angles. The first thing you're going to do is find the reference angle. So we graph 95. 95 is just a little bit past the vertical line there. My reference angle, remember, hits the line I drew and the x-axis, but it's got to be acute, so it's got to be that piece right there. In quadrant 2, when your reference angle is in quadrant 2, generally you're going to take 180 and subtract the angle. And when you do that, you get 85. So this is a claim. It doesn't have to be true. I'm claiming to you that cos 95 is equal to cos 85. Type them in your calculator and see if it's true. Please make sure your calculator is in degrees by hitting mode and arrowing down and making sure degrees is highlighted. If you type them in, you will see that they are off by a negative. They are the same, but one's negative and one's not. They're either going to be the same, and then you're done, or they're going to be off by a negative. And if they're off by a negative, you stick a negative in front of the cosine. And that's your final answer there. For sine 312, let's graph 312, which is in quadrant 4. My reference angle is going to hit the line I drew and the x-axis, so it's going to be that piece right there. Generally, when I'm in quadrant 4, I'm going to take 360 degrees and subtract 312. And that's going to give me 48. So I'm going to claim sine 312 is equal to sine 48. If I type them both in my calculator, I see that it's close, but they are off by a negative. So it's going to be negative sine 48. For tan 305, actually let me skip that one. You guys do that one. I'll do sine negative 35. Negative 35 is that angle right there. Remember, my reference angle will actually be that same angle. Sorry, I have a hard time drawing. That reference angle is 35, so I'm going to claim that sine negative 35 is equal to sine 35. I typed them in my calculator and I see they're off by a negative, so I'm going to stick a negative in front of that. Okay, let's try some of these problems down here. We have cos of theta equals 0.6283. Please make sure your calculator is in degrees. The way I know that is because it wants theta in degrees. You're going to take inverse, you asked off for theta. So you're going to take inverse cos of 0.6283. You're rounding to the nearest degree, so you get 51 degrees. Notice the directions. It says find two values of theta. To find the second value, we use reference angles. 51 degrees is in quadrant 1. Cosine is positive in quadrant 1. Cosine is also positive in which other quadrant? Hopefully you're saying quadrant 4. So you draw your line in quadrant 4. Those two reference angles are the same that I drew, the blue and the red angle. What I want to find is the black angle. The way I find it is to take 360 degrees and subtract the red angle, which is equal to 51. 360 minus 51 is 309. So theta equals 51 and 309. Let's do a couple more. This next one we're going to do inverse tan of 1.4281. You're going to get 55 degrees. Then we graph 55 degrees, which is in quadrant 1. In quadrant 1, tangent is positive. Tangent is also positive in which other quadrant? Quadrant 3. So you draw your line in quadrant 3. Now this red angle is equal to 55 degrees, which is the same as that blue angle. The angle I really want to find is this. Let me see if I can do a different color. Okay. Is this purple, if it works. Purple angle right there. Okay. That purple angle is going to equal 180 degrees plus the blue. So 180 plus 55 is 235. So my other angle is 235. Let's do the inverse sine. Inverse sine of negative 0.0523 is negative 3 degrees. Let's graph negative 3. Negative 3 is in quadrant 4, sorry. Notice it says it wants values between 0 and 360. Negative 3 is not, because negative 3 is negative. So what we have to first do is find the positive side of that angle. The positive side of that angle is going to be 360 minus 3, which is going to be 357. Now that I have the first angle, finally I can get the second angle. The second angle, what I'm going to do is I see I'm in quadrant 4. In quadrant 4, sine is negative. Where else is sine negative? Hopefully you're saying sine is negative in quadrant 3. So you draw your line in quadrant 3. And those little blue angles I just drew, those are equal. Those are equal to 3. If I want to find the whole angle now at this point, the other angle that's going to work, which is the red angle, I'm going to take 180 plus 3, to get 183. What I would like you guys to try now are those next two problems, and actually I am going to take the time, I know I'm over 10 minutes, but I am going to take the time to do the last one because you might get confused if you do that one on your own. So you're going to do inverse tan of 0, and you end up getting 0 degrees. Well, 0 degrees is right here. You're on a quadrant. When you land on an axis, what you do is you test the other side. The other side is my blue side. My blue side is worth 180 degrees. So in your calculator, you type tangent of 180. And you see it equals 0. Since it equals what it was supposed to equal, it does work. So the other angle is 180 degrees. If it did not work, you would just be done. So at this point, please finish the problems that I did not do.